Hello, Charlie TCG here, and welcome back to my channel. Today, let's recap Orlando Regionals. First things first, I just want to say thank you so much for the support on the channel for last week. I've just started it out, and it's amazing to see people enjoying my content I'm creating, and I can't wait to share more about it. I know I focus a lot on post-rotation, but I'm also going to do some current rotation stuff, and let's talk about Orlando Regionals. First things first, it's the biggest regionals of all time. There were 1,485 Masters, which is insane when you think about having 153 players in day two. That's pretty much a tournament right there on both sides. You go from international to basically a small regionals. It's the biggest event outside of Japan since NAIC 2018. Again, it beats some NAICs, which is just insane to think about. It's also the second biggest modern era event of all time. I double checked Limitless, and from their stats, this is actually correct, which is insane. So, with this big tournament, what do people bring? To no surprise, Lugia was 26% of the day one meta. I would say you're always going to expect to see this. Lugia is so powerful, it's not going to go away. It's got so many techs, it's always adapting. But Lost Box got in their second place. This is a collection of like the Sable Zard, the what's it called? Raichu? Now, like Raikou, Amazing Raikou and Rayquaza, as well as Kyogre. So it's a collection, but being 20% of the meta is really, really strong. It dethroned Mew, going down to third place. Now, Mew kind of probably dipped in popularity because it did win the regionals. It came second in one, so it had a big target on its back, and people don't want to just sit through games where everyone is going Drapion, Drapion, Drapion. I know Mew has all the answers to actually go against Drapion. It's not as scary as it, but for someone who just picked up Mew, they probably don't want to go to an event where it's a huge target. Guzhou actually coming in fourth place is really, really nice to see. This is a deck which has got a lot of popularity this year alone. It got a top 32 from Israel Sosa a couple weeks back in San Diego, and also then a second place finish from Stefan Ivanov, as well as a top 8 as well. So it's done really, really well for itself. So I'm a really big fan that how Gudra has kind of snuck in here. It's done really well online, and it's kind of shown its sort of face here. Regis and Arcturalodon, again, these are really powerful decks. They have decent matchups around the board. That's kind of why they're always there. So how did this converge into day two? So they all stay in the same place of how popular they were, but Lugia skyrockets to 34.6% of the meta. This is about on par where it is. It's normally about 34 to 38% of day two, not like in LAIC, which was really, really, really popular deck. But yeah, it was a very good deck to converge rate across. Lost Zone and Mew kind of been similar par. Really, really good players, and especially people who really understand the meta, are more likely for them to transfer across, purely because that you won't be as tired, you can really understand the meta. And some of these decks, especially like Lost Box, they're not exactly like you pick it up and you understand every single card. They take a while to understand, especially with like Mew. Mew, I think, is just always really strong. Gudra and Regis being the same amount really does make sense. These are these big, powerful decks, especially like Arcturalodon. I really like that these are like kind of also the decks go in. Gudra, it's nice to see it didn't just dip because it was popular. It stayed just as powerful and as strong and as popular as it went across, which is really promising to see, especially now people are really understanding the list. Same thing with Regis and Arcturalodon. These are just, again, powerful decks. They stay around, not good as well as probably they should have done, but that's still not too bad. So how did this translate to a top 8? So as you have probably all seen, Lugia dominated it. There were three positions in top 4, and then 6 altogether in top 8, which is just an insane number. This is like LAIC numbers again. People weren't really respecting Lugia as much. Now, why is this? Well, going into this tournament, Lost Box had a lot of fun tools from Crown Zenith. People were really teching probably with their Lost Box deck to try and make it as cool as possible. You had the Sky Steel Stones, so you can get an extra prize. Like finally, Lost Box can get extra prizes on V Stars and V Maxes. You had the Zamazenta, really, really powerful a single prize attacker. Even like the Radiant Eternities could have technically have worked. So a lot of people drew their focus to Lost Box to try and tech against it because, as I predicted last week, I would say that was one of the strongest plays going into the tournament. So because of that, Lugia got to kind of get away a little bit scot-free. It already played like Stoutland, Manaphy's, and Amazing White Raikou to help against Lost Box decks. So as long as it understands and knows what it needs to do against other matchups, Lugia can just really, really survive and do really well. The Lost Box set that did do well was the Rayquaza build. I think this is one of the more simpler and really powerful versions to play. The Kyogre one, it does take a lot more brain power to really think when you have to get to the Kyogre, how you manage to map all your prizes. Whereas Rayquaza, as long as you can find Rayquazas for a decent price, it can hit really, really hard. And Mew is a deck which has been really good ever since it got released. It is so powerful and so strong. They are playing like the advanced technology one, which was really popular from Sandra Perot, getting like other techs which aren't meant to be in there, like Manaphy's, or you can look at not meant to be there, but you're surprised to see them, and Aerodactyl. So I'm really glad to see that these decks did try and go through. So if we look at Andrew's winning list, it's very similar to what you would expect to see. The attackers are about the same thing as the tech, but they have a lot of fun one-off options with a Capturing Aroma, which you can flip a heads or tails, and you get to see if you're getting a basic or evolved Pokemon. Lost Vacuum, especially to help with Path. Echoing Horn, I really like because you can kind of team this up with like Echoing Horn plus Boss, get like a Pokemon you might need. Echoing Horn plus with Raikou, really, really strong, so you can get rid of some Comfies. They can't respond to Raikou. Echoing Horn, another one, get 4 prizes really easy that way, and a Choice Spell. But always one of the best ways to get them is through an Irida, because he played double Luminion. Now, there was a big talk about, especially Tor brought up a few weeks ago after Liverpool, Irida or Skylar. I've always been in the camp, I do like Irida because you do get your one-off item cards, but you can also get Luminion, which can get you boss next turn. But then Tor's argument is you can get Skylar and get boss straight away. Yes, that does work, but I'm always concerned and worried that if you do that route, you could get Marnied or not Bossed, or Judged or Rock Sand away these cards. So you've got to really be playing around it, especially with your Orangurus to try and stop them not knowing you have Boss in hand. But I feel like that gives away some information to your opponent, but that's only really if you know you're going to get game next turn, then your opponent can't do anything. Item cards support account, pretty similar what you expect. There is a higher Boss and Serena count. And they also play Wash Energy. Wash Energy is really good with like Manaphy's and Luminions, especially on the Manaphy, because if you put Manaphy at the Wash Energy, it stops Sableye from KOing it, and then you can go for that Kyogre play. So I really do like that. And the Heat Energy as well with the Aroma. You try and use you've got to attack with at least 2 of the 3 of these single prize cards. You want to try and utilize as much as possible. So we look at Isaiah Bradner's second place list. Very similar. It plays the Dunsparce, but not the Irida and not the Echoing Horn. I really like Echoing Horn. It really helps with it. And this also plays the Speed Lightning Energy, so the Wash. Speed Lightning gets you some 2 cards if you attach it to a Raikou. I'm a big fan of this as well. Very similar list to both of them are. I feel like Lugia has really kind of like finite to know exactly what is really good. More common to see a 3-2 line of Lugia, especially the 4 Archeops, 2 Luminion, 1 Stoutland, a Zard, Yveltal, and Raikou, and then techs like Oranguru, Pumpkaboo, and Manaphy and Dunsparce. Kind of they're really the same, nothing much to change. There was actually a Greedent Lugia that was actually on the bubble, which would have been amazing if that did actually get into top 8. Sorry. So I really do like this sort of style list. Lugia doesn't really change too much. It's already got the adaptation it needs. This list does play 1 extra Marnie compared to the other one where they play 2 Marnies, 2 Serenas. Here they play 3 Marnies, 1 Serena. Again, both Lugia lists are very similar, both just as strong and brilliant that these guys did really well. Now, looking at Nicholas Moffat's Lost Box deck, you can see it's kind of quite fun. It has the Ice Cube in there, and double Manaphy and a Wash Energy. So it can already really help. Like you can get to, if you're against a Lost Zone deck, sit there with an Ice Cube with a Wash Energy attached, and if you clear up the board, you're looking at a really, really strong board. where you can help in those sort of matchups. It does play a double mana fee, so you don't need to rely too much on ordinary rod to get it back in. And my favorite card in this list, my favorite card in all Lost Box deck, is Raihan. Raihan is such a strong supporter. You can get your energies back you might need, plus any other card you need to have. This list doesn't play boss, so kind of quite interesting. You're literally there saying, right, I am hitting whatever's in the active spot. If I can't hit what's in the active spot, I have Ice Cube, I have other ways around it, and Raikou to hit the bench. So there are lots of ways to go around it. I really love the 2 Sableye, 2 Cramorants, the 1 Raikou, and then the Ice Cube. Really, really powerful, really strong idea of the list, especially with the energy count as well. One of the only things I'm a bit concerned about is like the 2 ordinary and 1 recycler, but you do play Raihan, so you can constantly use some of the energies, but maybe having another recovery, even if it is like a Clara or another like Rod or energy recycler, would have been quite nice, especially with some of the switching out options. But again, they did incredibly well by getting in 3rd place. I really love this list. If I did have some Rayquazas and Raikous, I would probably go and leave this style list. I really like the Ice Cube to help with their Lost Box matchup and Reggies. This is a really powerful deck and a really nice new take on what Lost Box is. And then finally, let's look at the top 8 position from Grant of Mew VMAX. Now, this is the advanced technology of a 1/1 Aerodactyl. The Aerodactyl is really nice, and after it got its popularity, it's seen a lot more in other decks. After we saw like the Mew in the last few regionals kind of being the more, what you would think, more focused on this Fusion Strike, having this Aerodactyl is a really nice sort of refreshing thing. And there's a few other fun other techs like the Leafy Camo Poncho to stop against bossing up your Mew VMAXs. And also some Rotom phones, so you can get some early support with Genesect. Again, this is a really nice list. It does play 2 Vols Vacuums to help against Path. It is playing 2 Paths in 2 Lost Cities to help you against your Arceus matchups, against your Lugias, against your Lost Box. So lots of other little fun little tech options. Bit light on the switching options by playing 2 Escape Routes and 1 Switch, but it draws so much for the deck. It has a Forest Steel Stone, you're going to do really well. Having the 1 Forest Steel Stone and then the 1/1 Aerodactyl kind of like goes with the matchup you're on. If you're not against Lugia or any ways to get, you feel like you might need to use the Ancient Star, you have that Forest Steel Stone, so you're not out of the game too much. I really like this. Mew is always going to be powerful, really strong. I love the Rotom Phone. I feel like the Leafy Poncho is a really fun tech, especially in this sort of match. And I really am excited to see where Mew could potentially adapt. And it's good to see that the top 3 decks, which I thought they would be, all actually got represented in the top 8. So where we're going to go moving forward into the event, I think people have to respect Lugia a lot more than they have in the past few weeks. Lugia has kind of been avoiding some top 8s for a while. It's not like a win, sorry. It's not as it's not seen as much, but then people teched against Lost Box and it dominated. So we are going to see again like a resurgence to these fun little tech box and answers against Lugia and kind of see how that really affects. I think Lost Box is still in a decent position, but it got heavily teched against and for. So they have to also understand and adapt the techs, as well as potentially maybe going back to some of the Crown Zenith stuff, see if that can help in any sort of way, shape, or form. But we don't have any events now until OCIC next week. I'm going to post a video about some of the lists and some of the decks I think will do really well. That should be out probably a week today. This next few days, I'm going to release some more deck profiles for Scarlet and Violet format. I'm super excited for this format. I'm really excited about this. So seeing how dominant Lugia is, it's making me so excited to say goodbye to Lugia. So I would say that definitely moving forward to this event, you need to understand and tech against Lugia because we can't have another one of these events. So my name is Charlie TCG. I hope you've enjoyed this sort of meta sort of analysis, seeing what decks have done well, some fun facts, showing you the list. If you've enjoyed this content, please subscribe and leave a like down below. Any feedback is more than welcome. And I will see you guys soon. Bye for now.